Hi everyone, it's that time again when you might be starting to think about your year end. The year end process itself is straightforward. It's a simple wizard that includes a few options. However, before this, there's the preparation stage, ensuring you've posted everything, and of course, it involves running reports. But do you understand your reports and also the opportunities that you have to develop them? Ensuring they're accurate, but also that they provide you with a correct level of detail. Throughout January and February, we're running a series of live webinars to help develop your knowledge and understanding of the management reports available in Sage 50 accounts. We'll be starting with the basics, understanding nominal records and the structure of the nominal ledger. This is also ideal if you need to create new nominal codes. Following on from this, we'll examine the chart of accounts looking at all aspects, including adding new layouts and editing existing ones. Our attention then turns to the management reports themselves, the trial balance, the profit and loss, and of course the balance sheet. We'll explain how to run them, what they show, and most importantly, how the figures calculate. We want you to be confident. On the management report session, one of the most common scenarios we're asked about is where you haven't yet run your year end, but need to generate a profit and loss report for your next financial year. We've got your back with this and have a specific webinar that explores the options you have available, whether it's running reports for your new financial year or even a previous one. The last webinar in the series looks at reconciling your age debtors and age creditor reports at year end, ensuring that the balances agree with the figures on your trial balance and the balance sheet. Of course, this could be done at any time, such as part of your month-end process. So come along and we'll demonstrate what to check and how to run them to ensure everything agrees. If you'd like to attend any or all of these sessions to help develop your knowledge and boost your confidence, then simply head along to sage.co.uk/webinars and register for your free place. These, along with loads of other topics, including how to run your year end, are available. See you soon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for round about the next hour. We'll try and get through everything as quick as we can, and if you are finishing early for a Friday afternoon, hopefully you'll be able to get away. If not, enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Right, so today we're looking at Sage 50 accounts and Copilot. So getting started with Copilot, what's it all about? How do you access it? What can you do with it? And hopefully you'll be able to see how potentially it's going to save you a little bit of time here and there as well. Now, before we get stuck in, I'll quickly run you through just a little bit of housekeeping, just so you know what's going to be happening. Obviously, I'll be sharing my screen. We've got some slides to give us a little bit of structure to what we're going to be talking about. I'll be sharing my screen so you can see me working in the software. Now, during the session, you don't need a microphone for the session. If you do have one, you will find that you are muted automatically. So any questions that you might have for me today, you'll need to pop them into the questions panel. To access that, you just click the little speech bubble icon. It's on the toolbar down the right. Give it a click. You'll then have access to that box in the bottom corner. So that's where you can enter any comments or questions that you might have. Remember to click send, otherwise I don't see those. So just in case you're wondering why I haven't picked that up or answered your question, that could be why. And if you want a copy of today's slides, they are available via the handout option. Now, as normal, we record all of our sessions. A link to the recording will be included on your follow-up email. So you'll receive that follow-up email around about an hour after you finish. That email will also include a link to our webinar registration page. So if you are interested in attending other topics, we've got loads of sessions coming up, year-end, clearing records, loads to do with the management reports within your software. So we're running a series of those starting next week. I think it's Tuesday morning. We start with the basics, setting up nominal codes, move on to things like chart of accounts, the management reports themselves. So get yourself signed up if you are interested. So that link will be on your follow-up email. There'll also be a link to our recordings page. So if you've missed any sessions or need a bit of a recap on anything you've covered or attended previously, just watch out for that. You'll have it available to you. Right, let's take a quick peep at what we're going to be looking at in today's session. So we're going to start with a bit of an introduction to Copilot, how it's I should say who it's available to. It's not available to everyone, but who it's available to. So as long as you meet that criteria, you should have access to it. We'll run through some demonstrations. So picking up on the key aspects of Copilot, so the insights, report with Copilot, detailed analysis, and of course, the payment reminders option, which is the latest addition, latest feature to be added to Copilot. And with that, you can actually automate that task as well. So I suppose that's where the time-saving element comes in. But payment reminders, even if you're doing it manually via that option, makes it very easy to do that. But what's next? Well, I'll give you a little update on that one, and also how you can get involved, how you can shape Copilot or even just Sage 50 going forward. And then right at the end, we'll explain more about the additional support, and also if there are any outstanding questions, I'll try and pick those up as well. So keep them coming. If I don't get a chance during the session, we'll try and pick them up at the end. Right, so let's start with, first of all, Copilot and who it's available to. So Copilot was first introduced in version 31.1. So if you're on version 31.1 or above, then potentially Copilot will be available to you. You can check that by within your software. If you're not sure about your version, you just go to Help and About within your software. Top left corner, it will tell you your full version number. So if it begins 31.1 or it's a higher number, then you should potentially have that available to you. Now, you will need to be on either the standard or the professional level of the software. So it's not available if you're on Essentials, and it's also currently not available if you're an accountant and you are on the client manager level of the software. So you need to be on standard or professional, and also you need to be based in the UK. So if you're based in Ireland, currently Copilot's not available to that region. Now, I always get asked, there's bound to be someone from Ireland on this session today, when will it be available to Ireland, or when will it be available to all levels of the software? And I don't know the answer to that one. So whether it will become available to the Essentials level, I don't know. And if and when it will be made available in Ireland, I'm sure it will at some point. But again, there's no date for that currently. So I can't answer that, unfortunately. Now, if you do meet that criteria, your subscription for your software will include a single user license, and additional licenses can be added if needed. So normally there will be a charge for that. Cost-wise, again, I don't have access to that. It will vary on your subscription. But by default, as long as you meet that availability criteria, you will be entitled to a single user license. So it means that you can have a go of it. Is it right for you? Do you benefit from it? Do you need more than one colleague to access it to really benefit from it? So you can have a look at that. Now, as far as sort of getting up and running, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to get up and running with Copilot in just a moment. There is loads of information available from our help center. So head along to sage.co.uk/help. There's a Copilot panel on that page. Just in case you're clicking that, it'll take you in where you can find out the information about Copilot. introduction to it, how you go about setting it up, how you go about getting access to the latest version of the software as well. That will be included in that Copilot area, because obviously the more up to date you are, more up to version 33 at the moment. So the more up to date you are, the more features that you're going to have available to you. Right, now I'm going to actually show you how you can activate that if you haven't already. There's a couple of options for you as well, depending on the version that you are on. I'll share my screen and I'm going to give you an idea of what that process looked like. We always get feedback on, well, you didn't really show us the setup process. So I haven't even started it yet. So I want to see how you go about switching it on. So I'm going to quickly run through that just so you can see that. Now, if you are on version 33 of Sage 50 accounts, you haven't got that yet, again, Help Center, it'll explain how to download and install that. But on version 33, what I'm going to quickly do, I'm just going to close out the software. And when I open it, so just give that a moment. So I'm going to go into this company. I've got a few companies on here. I haven't yet enabled Copilot in this company. So when you're on version 33 and you go to log into your company, I think my laptop's on a go slow today, so we'll just let that open. So when you're on version 33, you'll get this option. And this means you can have a go of Copilot, you can try it without fully activating it. When you fully activate Copilot, if you've got it, you're going to then start reverting to when you log in, rather than just asking you for a username and password, or a single user will ask you for password only. Rather than doing that, what it's going to do is you're going to start needing to log in with your email address and password. So the security is a lot tighter. It uses what we term two-factor authentication. So you'll need to log in with an email address and password into your software then. And if you activate Copilot fully and you're working with colleagues, they will need to do the same. So they need to be linked to a Sage account. That's something to be aware of. So with this option, it means you can have a go of Copilot without making any changes, without impacting on anyone else. It means you can try that. You've got full access to Copilot. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get around this. So I'm just going to close that window. It'll open Sage 50 accounts for me. And again, when I'm in this software, a couple of additional things you might see if you're on version 33 is, first of all, you'll see this bar at the top, activate Sage Copilot. But also in your software, in the various ledgers where Copilot's available to you, just ignore the fact that most of my customers are in red as well. It just means they're over the credit limit that I've got set on this dummy set of data. But we've got that Sage Copilot option. Now, when we click it, or we click the link at the top, it doesn't matter which one we use. If you're on a slightly older version, it may say Copilot Insight, that icon. So it just takes you back to this window that activates Sage Copilot. And it's going to take you through basically a simple wizard. So I'll just click Activate Sage Copilot. Now, if you are already connected to a Sage account, so you've already entered those details within, against, say, your manager logon, then it should be a little bit quicker because you've already got your account set up. But otherwise, if you know you're gonna get this prompt, Sage Copilot is active for your company, and I'll just close out of that. And essentially that's me done. It will prompt me to log in again. So it's picked up the email address automatically, and I'll just quickly log in. use my authenticator app to get my 6-digit code. I'm sure you're familiar with these from websites and things like your banking software. If you need to confirm payments and things like that, this is the kind of thing you're going to get for security these days on your software. So if I just pop in my 6-digit code. And that's me in the software at that point. And Sage Copilot's then going to be available to me. So it's available in a few different areas. We've got Sage Copilot up here. Again, if you're on an older version, so you're not on version 33, that's going to be called Copilot Insights. And you'll find it in a few different other areas as well, primarily when you're going into the reporting area. But that's how easy it would be to actually activate it. Zena, you mentioned there, does that mean you need a different email address to log into each company? I can use the same one. So obviously your users, so if you've got a number of different users, so your colleagues use Sage as well, they would need to have a Sage account as well. But mine, I've got multiple companies there. For my manager user, I've got the same email address linked to each of those. So that's not a problem. So don't worry, you don't have to, if you've got 5 companies, you're not going to have 5 different email addresses. So that's absolutely fine, not a problem. Right, going to pop back to the slides for a moment. And what I'll do is just tell you a little bit about Copilot, and then we'll get stuck into the demo itself of actually using it. Alison, you mentioned there, is that one user at a time, or do we have to allocate a sign to just one user? How do we do that? Part of the setting up process, if you've got more than one user, when you essentially activate Copilot, it will ask you, right, you've got a single user license at this point. Which user do you want to allocate that to? So it'll give you that choice, and you can always change that going forward in the future. Or if you've got it, if you decide, right, it's for me, I'm going to use Copilot. Actually, I need more than one license, and you add that to your subscription. You can pick and choose who has access to Copilot, so you can choose that. That's not a problem either. Now, Copilot itself, it's the insights, which is what was originally available when Copilot was first released. It's available in the following ledgers. So I've got them listed there. So customers, suppliers, products and services, nominal codes and transactions. And you access those just within the relevant ledger just by clicking the Copilot icon. So again, it might be called Copilot Insights or Sage Copilot, depending which version you're on. And the idea of Copilot, it's a bit like a digital assistant. So the insights will concentrate on key themes, so things like supporting you with debt management, managing your inventory, helping you to monitor the performance of your business. Anomaly detection, probably my personal favorite, that one. And it goes down really well. Anything to do with spotting processing errors in your software is always received really well. Obviously, it's easy to specify the wrong nominal code or tax code or key evaluating incorrectly. It'll try and identify things like that for you based on your historic information. We'll see that in the demo in a few minutes. And of course, reporting. That reporting forms a big part of Copilot. You're not physically running reports, it's going to display that type of information for you. And as you'll see, as we run through the various demos, in the insights, although it will provide you with top level information, there's that option to drill down into that information, potentially all the way down to transaction level if required. So if you want a better understanding of the figure it's showing you, whatever that figure is, you can drill down. So you can click on links, etc., to get at that information. Now, before we actually see it in action, I'm going to tell you about I'll show you some of the screens that you're going to get. So when you click that Copilot Insight icon, the panel opens down the right-hand side of your screen. So within customers, you've got things like debt management. And within there, it's going to give you a list of like overdue sales invoices approaching the due date. Now it's easy to access. Obviously, you just click that icon, it displays the panel, it runs the information for you, and then you can start drilling down if you want that. Now this screenshot has actually changed just a little bit with the release of the update to debt management in version 33. But if you're on 31.1 or 32, this is what you'd see when you go into the customer's insight. For inventory management, which as you'd expect is available within products and services, it'll give you a summary of your stock. So items that are out of stock, low on stock, or likely to be out of stock soon. So it means that you can take that action. Probably when you first look at that, you might think, well, I'm a bit more of in a reactive position. It's identifying things that are already out of stock or really low on stock. But the more you use it, the more it'll identify those items a bit further on in that cycle. So viewing the items likely to be out of stock soon. And if you're on the professional level, these areas, as you drill into them, they'll seamlessly integrate with purchase orders. So you can generate orders based on what it identifies. Really quick and simple to do that. Business performance wise, available in a number of the insights area. So it's gonna look at a sort of, I suppose, business performance analysis. It's going to look for your current period. It'll compare that to the sort of the previous period for the previous month, but also for the same period from the previous year. And as you can see on the screenshot there, we just try and share my screen again. I think we just had a bit of a blip there. Sorry about that, Alison. Thanks for pointing that out. Yep. Sometimes you just get the odd blip in the webinar software when it shares the wrong screen there. Apologies for that one. So let me just go back and I'll quickly show you the other two. So customers, you're going to get this information or similar. We'll run through some demos of this in just a moment, so not to worry. Inventory management, when you first go into that within products and services, it'll categorize your sort of your stock into three sort of areas: out of stock, low on stock, or likely to be out of stock soon. So again, the more you use this, the more regularly you access it, the more likely you are to spot any potential issues a bit earlier in that sort of stock control cycle. For things like business performance, you find that type of information available within the nominal codes insight, the customer's insight, supplier's insight. Again, looking at certain performance in specific periods, so you can spot those sort of trends, that month-on-month performance, the year-on-year performance. There's graph options in there as well, and again, links so you can click to drill down into that information should you want it. Oh, I think I just clicked past one again. Anomaly detection, I mentioned this one's my favorite. Again, it goes down really well. Anything to do with processing or trying to identify processing issues, whether that was when you were running the VAT return and you look at the verification settings. You've got options when you're entering transactions these days where it spots potential duplicates. But this one, the Copilot Insight, it's going to try and identify based around your historical information. It'll try and identify transactions where it's a bit unusual that you've used a certain nominal code for that type of transaction, that you've used a specific tax code, the transaction amount, so the VAT amount. Again, a bit unusual. Now, these transactions, they may just be one-offs, which is why they're unusual. You know, capital expenditure, for instance. If you compare that to, like, you know, standard sort of weekly, fortnightly, monthly expenses, like some capital expenditure, a bit more unusual. Now it'll identify that, and you can review your transactions, whatever it identifies, and you'll be able to not only look at them, but you'll be able to say, right, I just want to ignore that one. Actually, it's right, or you can correct them there and then. So I'll show you a demo of that one in a moment as well. And finally, reporting analysis. So reporting, as I mentioned, it's a common theme throughout those insights. Going to surface key information, whether that's to do with business performance, you know, things like profit loss information, or whether it's credit control information, so helping you to manage credit within your business. So again, you'll be able to drill down. Now, what I'll do is I'll just go back to, in fact, I'm going to play a little video first of all of the anomaly detection area. So I'll set that going. I'll come back to you live in just a couple of minutes.
The Copilot Insight for anomaly detection is all about helping you to improve and maintain the accuracy of your data. We all know it's easy to make a mistake, such as specifying the wrong tax code for a transaction, so anything that helps has got to be positive. The insight helps to identify potential issues, and to keep things simple and streamlined, enables you to easily edit the transaction and make corrections there and then. The Copilot Insight is accessed from the transactions ledger. Insights are grouped into nominal codes, tax codes, and amounts. Check tax codes shows the number of transactions where the tax codes are different to the usual ones that have been used on the account in the past. Clicking transactions with unexpected tax codes lists the relevant transactions. If you're working in a specific period, you can easily narrow down the date range by applying a filter rather than working on the default group covering the last 12 months. You can even apply a filter so only specific transaction types appear. You can search within the results and also have the flexibility of exporting the list, for example, if you prefer working in Excel. Each transaction shows the current details and the suggested correction. For added flexibility and speed, you can then action changes there and then. Edit brings up the familiar Edit Transaction window, so if required, you can make the correction there and then. If you've already corrected it outside of the Copilot Insight, simply flag it. Then finally, when a correction isn't required, for example, you've posted a transaction which is a one-off and it's picked up as an anomaly, you can flag to ignore it. As transactions are flagged, they'll be moved to the appropriate tab. If you're a bit too quick and accidentally ignore a transaction, then don't worry, this can easily be undone. The main list can also easily be refreshed at any time, meaning you can quickly ensure you're up to date if other users are currently processing before you close out.
Okay, so that was just I suppose a little demo of just one of the insights that you've got available. Right, now what we'll quickly do, I'm gonna go back to my desktop at this point. And if you are on version 33, when you have fully activated Copilot, you'll see some little changes. So you'll see this tab at the top. It says Sage Copilot. It shows as being active. You'll see these little, what we term the Copilot sparkles as well, which indicate that there are insights. So those 5 ledgers that I mentioned earlier, where you've got those insights, they'll show in there as well. So if you just go into products and services as an example, it indicates you've got the Copilot option on the end of your toolbar there. But just click it, it'll open the panel. Obviously it does its little analysis in the background as well while it processes. And then it's telling me, in my case, I've got 13 items that are out of stock, 20 items that are low on stock. So it doesn't look like any are going to be out of stock soon. So none of them fall into that category. But if you just click it, essentially it'll open another panel for you, and we'll be able to start sort of getting at that information should we want it. Just bring that to the front there. Now, while we're in here as well, we can sort of make our selection. You can say, right, that one and that one. Maybe we want to order them from the same one. Select it. Obviously, it'll pick up default information, and then because I'm on the professional level of the software, we can even create a purchase order, and it'll just pop that information across for us. So pretty much seamless, that one. I'm not having to sit there making notes and then go and generate that purchase order myself. To get all of this information, you can get out really, really quickly. Be having a look at the customer one in a bit more in depth a little bit later on, and the one available within nominal. So either if you're in trial mode, if you're on version 33, or just generally, if you've just activated it fully and you want to go for it, have a look at those insights. So those 5 key ledgers, see what's there. Right, let's head back to the slides for a moment. Now, the insights that we've looked at so far, that's what is available in 31.1. And as soon as we released it, you get loads of feedback on these features as you add them, and I'm sure you'll have your thoughts around it as well as to what works well for you and what you'd like it to do, maybe even what you expected it to do, and it doesn't quite do that yet. So you can get involved, and I'll tell you more about that a little bit later on in the session. But in version 32, a couple of enhancements were added. And the first one was report with Copilot. Now, we get loads and loads of queries from our users where they contact us either via email, or they use the web chat, or they contact us via over the phone about, I would like a report that shows this. And a lot of those reports are just basic transaction reports, a list of transactions, which you have that information within your transactions list anyway. And quite often those reports will be available, but sometimes you might want to trim it down a little bit. And this is where Report with Copilot comes in. Now, this was enhanced further in 32.1. Getting confused with some of my versions now, where you were able to add grouping into the reports. But I'm going to show you the basics of Report with Copilot just at this stage. So we'll switch across to my screen, my desktop, and we'll just pop into transactions. Now, the reports that you can design are based around this list, your transactions list, often what you would term your audit trail. So you can get at key information. Now, might be enough for you just to filter your list yourself. Maybe run a report, you can already get at that information. But other times, you'll want to see specific information. And this is where Report with Copilot comes in. So within any reports ledger, so whether it's customers and then reports, suppliers and reports, you just click the reports option. And within there, you'll have either a Report with Copilot option, depending on your version, of course, or it'll just say Sage Copilot. Both do the same thing. We give it a click. And it will come up with, again, your panel down the side here. Excuse me. Now, obviously, I need to scroll a little bit here and there to see all the information. I've got my resolution set really low, just so hopefully you can read that information, how it comes through. And just be a case, in this case, what do I want? So I'll just do that. So asking it for all transactions dated in 2025, which do not use a T1 tax code. Now it's going to process that, and essentially what it will do, it will, if it needs it will maybe ask me to narrow it down a little bit. So in this case, it's come up, what transaction types do you want? I'll just say bank payments, see if it finds anything. We're just refining that query, and the more you use this, the more likely you are to get at that information straight away. Oh, something went wrong, so I'll close it and try again. Now, what that should do, it'll basically get to the point when I narrow it down. I'll just try and make these up each time. The more you use it, the more likely you are to get at that information you're after. So what it will do, it will generate a report for me. And it'll just basically ask me to put a file name in for that. And it will save it to within transactions in the My Transaction Reports folder. So normally I run this webinar all the time. So we've got loads of previous examples So this one was generate an audit trail report for sales invoice transactions in the year 2025. And we've got the rest of the description in there. So it will save it as a standard sort of Sage report that anyone can potentially run then. And anyone with access to Report Designer will be able to, if needed, edit that as well for that matter. Alison, you also mentioned, just as a side issue, how can we change the setup so that tailored reports saved to Sage Report Designer are available to all users? I'll come back to that one because it doesn't form part of Copilot, but well, it sort of does, but sort of doesn't. So I'll come back to that one to try and explain that in a bit more detail. Remind me on at the end, and I'll point you in the right direction for that one. Because there's a little tweak you can make within your software, and it depends what you want to see or don't want to see. So we'll try and pick that up at the end. So report with Copilot, it'll generate your report. It is based around transaction lists. So it saves it as a sort of standard report, as it were. This one was just a basic transaction list. I can amend that report if I need to within the report designer. So others I might have, let's see if I've got another one in here. Trying to find it. See if I've got one where it's got grouping in there. Yeah, sorry, this one does. So this one has a grouping by customer. So it's again including subtotals as well, just in case of having a play around with that and see what it is that you're after. But in a nutshell, that's Report with Copilot. Initially, when it was first released, so depending on your version, it would just be a list of transactions. But if you want a slightly more up-to-date version, you will be able to have groupings in there with subtotals. Again, that was something that was fed back very quickly. I don't just want a list. I want it grouped by customers or suppliers or nominal code or bank account, and I want subtotals on there. So that was, again, I'll show you how you can get involved in that way a little bit later on. So that's Report with Copilot. Going back to the slides, if I just bring that up. We've got the detailed analysis. So again, this is something that was fed back quite quickly as well. So we get a lot of sort of transactional information, transactional values, but what about supporting me with extra analysis? So this was made available within the nominal codes Copilot Insights area. You've got this detailed analysis, which is what I would refer to as more of a commentary style analysis. So showing your strengths and maybe your weaknesses and trying to identify those for you. So surfacing key information, but providing that in an easy to read format. So I'll show you this one. If I just get back to my desktop. So we go into nominal codes. Again, access the insight option. Just reload that. And then we've got the detailed analysis options here. So let's do the profit and loss. It's a bit like running a P&L report at this stage, as it would suggest. So run it for whatever period you want. I'll run it for the full financial year. Now, I'm still in that financial year, which is, in my case, January 25 to December 2025. We'll set that going. It should extract the data and then analyze it for us. And then it's going to provide that analysis for us. It's telling me, just as normal, this is the chart of accounts. Picks up your default chart of accounts, just in case anyone was about to ask that one. Obviously, the period, I've already specified that, but then it discusses strengths and weaknesses. It's not just showing you a P&L report. A lot of people, when I cover things like profit and loss reports, say, well, I can see the figures, but what do they mean? And it's giving you that additional sort of insight, that additional understanding as to what your strengths and your weaknesses are. So telling me the company's return on sales is 38%, indicating strong operational efficiency, and loads of other information in there as well. So you've got that option for your balance sheet as well. Again, that's what I would say fairly recent addition, that one. Now 32.1, again, remember, check your version, help it about. So when you're using Copilot, if you haven't got everything that I covered today, check your version, and hopefully you'll be able to spot where you come and is it worth upgrading to a more recent version to get out this type of features within Copilot. So 32.1, it did include that enhancement to report with Copilot, adding that groups and the subtotals. But the other big enhancement was the payment reminder automation. So improving your debt management. So that ability to automate that as well, the sending out of reminders. So if that forms part of your credit control function, most people email things like that out these days, or maybe you've got someone ringing around chasing customers for payment. This can help massively. So let's have a look at that within the software. I will go back to my desktop. We pop into customers. And into the insight via Sage Copilot. Now you do need to be on 32.1 or 33 for this feature to be available to you. And within the insight, you've got this debt summary option. Now, if I click into that, it'll launch the debt management option. If anyone's used things like bank feeds before, you'd be familiar with this style of sort of help panel opening. So always think it can make it a little bit disjointed or feel a little bit disjointed when you first get these. And obviously, just to make things a bit slicker and a bit more efficient, you can tick the box to say, don't show me this again. But otherwise, you would click continue to debt management, and this is the type of information you're going to get. So your debts, debt-wise, you've got 2 tabs, overdue, upcoming. There's nothing on upcoming at the moment, but if I just close out for a moment, just so you can see how quickly it pulls information like that through. If I go into invoices and credits, and we'll just new invoice, I'll bring up a customer. It doesn't really matter which one it's for. We'll do ABS. I'm going to backdate this a little bit. Just do the 1st of Jan, and I'm going to say this is going to be due on. Let's say sometime in February. Having a little trouble because of my dual screens seeing February, so we'll say that's going to be due on the 4th, and we'll quickly pop an item on as well. Again, doesn't really matter what it is, but we'll do one of those items there, and I'll just save that. So I've saved that invoice. Its due date is the 4th of February, so can't remember now. Wednesday next week that'll be. Now, if I go back to customers and then back into Copilot Insights, and I want to point this out because you'll be able to see how quick it can be. If we go into debt management and I go to upcoming, there's nothing there yet. And that's because I haven't updated that invoice to the ledgers. So I get asked a lot about this. Well, I've entered some invoices and they're not appearing. Why is that? You need to make sure they are updated to the ledgers first of all. It's based around the transactions on the customer's account rather than the invoices and credits list. So let's quickly update that invoice that I've just literally entered there. That one it will be at the bottom. Yeah, that one, invoice 89. So I'm just going to update this one to the ledgers, just so it's on the customer's account. So there we go, that's updated. So it now shows us having been posted. So that'll be reflected in the customer's balance now as well. So it'll be on this balance here. But if we go back to the Copilot Insights, And again, we'll pop into the debt management area. And we've now got that one in the upcoming. So obviously it'll filter through automatically for us when we access this option. Again, if I'd sort of just updated in the background or a colleague had, you might find that actually I need to refresh this area just by closing out and coming back in, just to get it to refresh and pull the latest information through. Now this one, it's saying it's due in 5 days' time. So as part of maybe my credit control function, I think, right, well, actually I'm going to a little bit ahead of the curve. I'm going to chase this customer now just to remind them. I'm going to send them an email. Now, normally that would it might involve using the letters option within Sage. It might just be a case of you manually typing up an email. But with this, it makes it really easy. We can say, right, well, this one here, we can see, obviously we can drill down to the transaction. We can drill down to the customer's account. Chase history, if we click view, we can see there's no history on that one yet. But if we pop into actions, it's going to ask us, right, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with this one? Right, in this case, I want to compose a reminder email. And it'll generate this payment reminder email screen. Now, a lot of this is already completed for you. It's going to pull through the email address from email field 1 of the email addresses. There's up to 6 within a customer record. You can pop a CC address in, a BCC address. You've got your subject line. It's going to generate that automatically for you. You can click and you can change that if you want to. So we've got some text and we've got some data fields. If we want to change that round, just show data fields, and there's other information that we can include either in the subject line or the main body of the email. Just a case of clicking and then choosing what you want to insert where. We can draft with Copilot. So the due reminder that we're looking at the moment, this email here, this is the basic structure. Maybe you want a shorter email. We're currently flagged for the medium. Or do we want it to be longer, a bit more wordy? And then I would just choose that and draft with Copilot, and it would come up with some suggestions for me. But let's just say I'm quite happy with that one. Again, I can click into this and, you know, it's saying things like, we hope this message finds you well. It's going to pull through the customer's name. If you want to change any wording there, you know, just drop me a quick email just to remind you that your invoice is now due or will be due. And it's actually pulling that type of date through. So the outstanding amounts when it's due, and obviously it'll attach a copy of the invoice as well. So you can make all those changes if required. And then other than that, if you're happy with that format, you would just click send. Now, if you are using the desktop edition of Outlook, which the majority of our users do, I think it's statistically now we're about probably somewhere between 90 and 95% of our users of Sage 50 will use the desktop version of Outlook. So it can easily integrate with that. If you're using anything other than the desktop version of Outlook, you will need to enter your SMTP settings. Lee, I'll come back to your question in just a moment. So that is now essentially that's generated the email. I'm just going to bring up my email. Just ignore the mess when we see this. And the one thing I would mention, let's just get rid of some of these. Is it open? So if you're using the desktop version of Outlook, this try new Outlook, it doesn't integrate with that. That's something to be aware of. You've got to be on this, the sort of the classic, as it were. If you switched across to that, it's not going to generate those emails for you. So that's something to be aware of. The rest will all be dependent on things like your layout settings, things like that, as to how it sends. But that's how easy it can be to send that. Obviously, as it becomes overdue, it'll just pop across to the other tab, and you're in the same position there. You can select it. You can go to your actions and say, right, I'm going to generate a reminder email. Right, what is it you want to send this time? So you might think, actually, you want to send an overdue reminder. Again, it'll pull through the various emails for you, which again, you can change the wording of that. So this makes it incredibly simple and quick to start generating those emails. And this is what I would term is the manual method. Let's close out of that. You also have this option here, manage automated reminders. Now, before you come into this, there's an option to manage your layouts. So at the top here. So this will, if you've designed your own layout so when you're sending emails and it obviously attaches your document, you can choose what layout you want to use when it attaches an invoice or a statement. If you've designed your own, obviously you can pick from those as well. Just be a case of you clicking browse. It'll give you a list of layouts, and it's just a case of you choosing whatever one you want to use. But the manage automated reminders, if we go into that one, it's very similar to what we've just looked at. However, you've got these options. So this is the time saver if you work in a credit control function. So we've got the 4 options. Do you want to send out reminders prior to the invoices hitting their due date? And how far in advance do you want to send that? When it's overdue, when do you want to send that? Do you want to send it straight away? Do you want to send it? Obviously, you've got these sort of set times, I suppose, the default ones, but you can change that. So let's say these due reminders, I don't want to have to come in and sort of 5 days before an invoice is due, think, right, I need to select that and manually send it. I just want the software to deal with that. So we can tick the box to say, right, we want to send these reminder emails that you've got an upcoming balance. We can customize the template. Again, you can choose the wording of that. It's going to pull through the email address automatically from the customer's account, the subject line, the actual email itself. The little bit that's any different here is this scheduling area, the reminder rules. So when do you want it to send? By default, it's 7 days before the due date. Maybe I don't want to send it that far in advance. It might be dependent on your credit terms, of course. Is there a value that you want to put in the rules? So if it's below a certain value, do you not want to send it? Or do you just think, right, well, anyone that owes me any level of money, whether that's in pence, pounds, or whatever, I want to send them a reminder. Filter that way as well. You might think the other way, think, well, actually, if it's below a certain amount, don't necessarily need to chase it. So you can specify that if you want to. And then, of course, you can change the status on the account once that email has been sent. If you've never come across the account status setting, there is a recorded webinar on that one available on the list. But in that case, I've just got it set to do nothing. Do you want to put the account on hold? Do you want to change the status? That type of thing. So again, it will do that automatically for you. So you're in charge of which of these reminders go, when they go, and you can also choose who to as well. So you can exclude certain customers. So a number of options in there to hopefully save you time. If you just want to do it manually, that's absolutely fine. You would just work from within these 2 screens. However, obviously the big time saver, the big benefit is having it sent automatically. Now I want to quickly pick up on Lee's query just while we're in here. Lee was just asking, can this option compose an email when sending sales invoices to customers? You don't have that within that the email area currently, Lee. But if you think it's a good idea and you'd really benefit from that, get it added as a suggestion. And speaking of suggestions, what's next and how can you get involved? And this is where already a lot of the development and a lot of the future developments that are going into your software, this is where a lot of that stems from. So do get involved, have your say, let us know what your thoughts are. What would you like to see it do? What does it do, but actually maybe it doesn't quite work how you want it to? Whether that's Copilot or just your software in general. Is there anything you'd like to see change? So let us know. You can submit your suggestions via the ideas portal. So I've included a link for that, but if I just quickly show you, I love promoting this option. Within your software, if you go to your home page, so top option on your navigation bar on the left, if you click your home page, and then all you need to do is scroll down, and you'll have bottom left, you'll have this option called Roadmap. If you give that a click, it'll open this web page. Now, if I scroll down a little bit, there's an option to have your say. So you just click the link, it'll take you to the ideas portal. And this is where you can add your ideas, you can view them, you can vote on them as well for that matter. If you think, actually, so this one here, for instance, when was that submitted? Today at just before lunchtime today. This one, 12:20. So we get suggestions all the time. So this one, the ability to post a journal to a project. Do you agree with it? Do you not? If you use the projects area, would you find that beneficial? But again, you can vote on these, and the more options that get voted for, the more likely they are to be included. I know generally, well, certainly over the last, I would say the last 4 or 5 years, a lot of emphasis has been placed on these. So this one, as an example, all transaction and record types, attachment facility, the ability to make attachments for all. Version 33, it lets you do that. I think that was actually improved in version 32.1 off the top of my head. So when you're recording transactions, you've got that ability. But don't just sit on your thoughts thinking, well, that doesn't work how I want it to. Get involved, let us know. You're probably not going to see that improvement if you don't, but get involved. Right, now, if you have any final questions, if you want to pop them in there, I will come back to yours. It was Alison that asked about the reports being made available to all users. Come back to that one in a moment, Alison. But if you've got any questions, if you want to pop them in there now, remember your follow-up email will include a link to today's recording. There's loads of information on the Help Centre as well about just your software and Copilot, of course. But your email will include a link to our upcoming webinars. So if you are interested, get yourself registered, have a look through that. We've got our timetable currently runs up to the end of Feb. We'll shortly be adding the March sessions as well. If there's anything you'd like to see, let us know. Pop it on the exit the exit survey that pops up as you leave today's webinar. So let us know what you'd like to see. But also there'll be a link to our recordings as well. So it's well over 100 different sessions on there now. If there's anything you missed, or have a look through that, might already be on there. Just in case anyone's about to leave, let me quickly thank you for your time. I hope you have enjoyed it, giving you a little bit of an insight into Copilot, how it works, the kind of features you've got available. Remember, if you're on version 33, you've got that option to trial Copilots. Previous versions, you've got to fully activate it to get access to that. Now, that survey will pop up as you leave today's session. If you can take a minute just to quickly complete that, be greatly appreciated. And your follow-up email will be with you in round about an hour's time. So if you're leaving, have a great weekend. Hopefully we'll see you on some of our other webinars, if not next week, hopefully over February. For those that don't want to stick around, I'm going to quickly try and pick up on, firstly, Alison's question, give you anyone else a chance to pop that through as well. So going back to Alison's question, which sort of links in with the report with Copilot option that we were looking at earlier. So Alison was just asking, how do we change the setup so that tailored reports saved within sort of Sage, so Report Designer, are available to all users? There's a little setting. So when we go to settings at the top and company preferences, just wait for that to pop up. So in here, so settings, company preferences, prompt you to log in again and re-enter your password, etc. There's a reporting tab. And it's this little checkbox here, use data path for reports. Now this is it's what I would term a machine specific setting, this one. So let's say there's you and your colleague. For you, you've got this setting in settings, company preferences, but so is your colleague on their PC. Now by default, if this isn't ticked, you will have a copy of all of the reports installed on your PC. And when you go to reports, that's where it will access them from. Layouts are different. Layouts are always located wherever your data is held. So anyone accessing an invoice layout or a statement, they'll get access to the same list of layouts. But with reports, reports are local to your PC. Now, if you generate one yourself or amend one and save it, it will save it to your local PC. By using this little tick box, what it will do instead is, let's say your data is held on a server and you and your colleague both access the data on a server. So by ticking this box, what it will do is when you go to run a report or you design a report and save it, what it will do, it will save it on your data path. So actually the reports you're now accessing are held actually on the server itself rather than your local installation. And any new reports that you design will be saved there as well. Now your colleague, let's say they still don't have this option ticked on theirs, they will still look at their local set of reports. And again, it means if they go to, you design one and you think, well, it's there, why can't they see it? Which is a common query. It means that they still won't see it at that point. It's on the server, but they don't see it because they haven't got this option ticked. If they do tick the box, what they'll then do is they will see the reports on the server itself. Rather than their local set of reports. Now, the thing to bear in mind, if this isn't switched on in yours, let's go back to your position where you've designed reports and it's saved them locally. By you ticking that box, you go from looking at your local reports, including the ones that you've designed locally yourself, you go from that to actually looking at the set of reports on the server drive, which your reports probably aren't held there. So it might be that you then need to manually copy them across. Our support team can help you with that though, if needed. But it's all to do with that setting. I hope I've tried to explain that in I suppose, simpler terms or simple terms, but it's one of those that catches a lot of people out. Now, if you work on a network, if you use remote data access, something to be aware of, it's not out in the open just yet, but there will be a brand new version of Sage 50 cloud accounts coming out in probably the next 2 to 3 months. You'll probably start hearing about this, which is going to be cloud-based. So you're going to be able to essentially access that virtually. So it means that things like installation are going to be a thing of the past. Updates, a thing of the past. You're not going to need to install those. You're not even going to need to install your software locally. You will just have access to your software via the cloud. That's something to watch out for. It's going to make, certainly when I'm talking about Sage 50 and situations like this, where accessing reports, having to copy files back and forwards, hopefully that's going to be a thing of the past. So it'll just be, if you're working at home one day and you think, oh, I can't be bothered to go in today. If you're a hybrid worker, a bit like me, you've got the choice. You can work in the office or you can work at home. Just think, right, today's going to be a home working day, which means I can open my browser on my PC and I can still log into Sage 50 accounts. I've got all full functionality still. So watch this space. As I say, probably towards the end of March, you might start hearing about that, but that is in the pipeline, that one. again, Alison, if you need any support correcting your that data path setting, get in touch with our support team and they'll be able to guide you through that. Right, just running over the hour, so we'll end the webinar just at that point. If you think of anything else, anyone, get in touch. You can always just reply to any of the webinar emails and I'll try and pick those up as best I can. If you need to speak to someone specifically, get in touch with our support team. But once again, many thanks for coming along. If you can take a minute just to complete that survey, and that should pop up as you leave, greatly appreciated. And hopefully I'll see you on some other webinars very, very soon. Many thanks.